Ted, what's going on?
I'm cosplaying my new character, Lady Grenoir. Silver Scale, Knight Dragonborn of the Realm.
Ted, I don't think reptiles have breasts. It's kind of a mammal thing. I'd probably buy it if you were a half dragon and your non-draconic heritage was something that breastfed.
But look!
Well, let's talk about D&D Dragonborn and what character class should you play. Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Hey, maybe it's your first time visiting Ted's Basement. It's a place where we like to talk about news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Hey, sometimes we even talk about other role-playing games.
So if you don't want to miss a single video, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and attune to that notification bell.
Alright, so we're diving back into the D&D races and what character class should you play. And we're going to look at Dragonborn specifically. Dragonborn is a newer character race for Dungeons & Dragons. It kind of surfaced at the end of 3.5.
All right, so newer for us. This is, years worth of history at this point in time in D&D. Tail end of 3rd edition, all of 4th. And, as you saw, pointed out in the intro, it's literally in the player's handbook, for 4th. It even got highlighted, on the cover. So definitely one of those things that it fit to 5th edition. And there's definitely some DMs out there who are like, I don't like them. I don't want them. Not in my D&D.
Yeah, I feel like even in 3rd edition, when they were first introduced, it wasn't even the Dragonborn we know today. That was really developed in 4th edition. And now in 5e, it's canon. And you're right. Some GMs, heck, there's still GMs that don't even like characters or players that play gnomes and demi-humans, let alone, Dragonborn and tieflings.
Indeed. So, Dragonborn, they're my son's favorite race. Kids like dragons, and it's one of those things that, I want to play a dragon. Well, you can't. Okay, well, can I play a dragon-like thing? Well, sure, play a Dragonborn. I got a breath weapon, I got scales, it all works.
Yeah, so let's jump into it and take a look at the Dragonborn as a race.
So Dragonborns don't really have sub-races, although they are broken down into their draconic ancestry. They get a +2 to strength, a +1 to charisma. They get to choose, where their ancestry comes from, one of the 5 chromatic or 5 metallic dragons, and then they're going to get common and draconic as their languages.
That choice that they make for the draconic ancestry is going to determine what kind of breath weapon, whether it's a cone or a line, the damage type, and also what kind of resistance they get.
Now, the typical Dragonborn in the core mechanics, says that they're like a, ruddy brown, coppery kind of color. But I know a lot of GMs who do like using Dragonborn haven't muddled their scale colors. So they do say that they're going to be gold or red or black or silver, like the ancestry, so that you can obviously tell one Dragonborn's heritage just by looking at them.
Essentially, that's the core race. And, you can flavor it however you want. Everyone's going to do it different in their game. But like you said, as at the core, their actual ancestry doesn't really change their appearance much. They all kind of look the same.
Right. And, there's good and bad to come from that. So, what does it say about a race that we know is strong and charismatic?
I don't know, Ted. Maybe they're a bunch of bros. They're strong, they're flamboyant, they're out there. No, they have a lot of presence to them, and physically they are a strong race. They have a martial bent to them, a martial tradition, and being kind of made by dragons and made in their image, that kind of makes sense because dragons are powerful creatures, both physically and also they have that strong presence as well.
I would have to agree with that. Looking at, what class you should play, we do what is a expected class and what are they going to be good at that you might not expect. So let's dive into and break down what things that you would expect a Dragonborn to be good.
Well, I expect before we do that, we're going to have to talk about our sponsor for this video, Campfire Technology. Look, if you're a writer or maybe you're a dungeon master and you like doing a lot of world building, but you want a really good way to organize it, people are always asking us, what tools do you use? What are good tools for world building and organizing your dungeon master notes and that kind of stuff. Well, Campfire Technologies is just that. It's an awesome authoring as well as world building tool. You can do character bios, you can do character arcs, you can do timelines in there. You can build flow charts and relationship charts. You can build out your stories, your worlds, encyclopedias for things in your worlds.
So every time you decide that you're gonna, get into a new game, a new campaign, this is where you could go into Campfire Technologies and start a whole new story. You put in there all the different details. You want your character development, you want plot development, you want world building. As Dave says, you've got an encyclopedia. Everything talks to each other. You've got a whole system that's designed so that you can have your proper storyline go. Whether you're looking to take notes after the session, do your session prep, this is a great tool to go in and be able to have it all in one place that you've got your story ready to go.
Especially if you're running a sandbox type world where you can have all the details ready to go for your players to adventure in. There's two different tiers. There's the regular one and then there's the pro. Both of them are just one-time purchases. You're not going to get locked into a monthly subscription or even a yearly subscription. You can do a 10-day free trial, and then you have another 10 days where you can cancel at any time for any reason, hassle-free. So there's absolutely no risk to you to try it out. The thing looks super clean. It's super easy to use, and that's what I like about it. I've used other pieces of software and other things that I found very confusing, and I didn't know where to start. With this, it's fairly simple and straightforward and just has a really clean design to it.
So go check out the link in the description for Campfire Technology.
All right, Dragonborn. Expected character classes. Based off of that high charisma and that high strength, where are we going to go?
All right, well, obviously, +2 to strength. That means these guys are going to excel at any of your martial classes. You're definitely looking at fighter. You're definitely looking at barbarian. Adding in that level or adding in that +2 charisma, means that they're going to work for your Bard of Valor. They're going to work for your Bard of College of Swords. They're going to also work out really well for Paladins.
They're going to be excellent Paladins, but also Warlocks and Sorcerers are going to work pretty well as well. Pact of the Blade is perfect. It used to be the Dragonborn was one of the best for Pact of the Blade, but now you do have an Hexblade option, so that strength won't matter quite as much. But any other kind of Warlock, they're going to be really good for.
Any of your charisma-based characters, Bard, Warlock, and Sorcerer, even if you're not planning to go into melee combat, you could easily dump your strength, using the standard array, getting rid of your negative from, the +2 to strength, and you don't have to worry about, I've got a minus to strength. Nope, you got a 0, and you got a 16 charisma, you're set.
Now, any kind of Gish character you want to make that is a charisma-based caster, obviously your Dragonborn is going to just excel at.
But with that, where do we think we could go for some unexpected, things with the Dragonborn?
All right, so one of the things about the Dragonborn, I think, that you can kind of lean into is the fact that they have that draconic ancestry, which means they tend to be tied to a particular element. They're resistant to that element. They have a breath weapon that is based off of that element. So that kind of sets them up for like a type of theme. So I feel like the cleric, if you were to go nature or tempest, would work really well for a Dragonborn.
I mean, even going with the war being very, very martial, they're going to be able to handle that. And it's like, you know what? I don't necessarily need to factor in my spell DCs. I'm going to use it for things like bless, aid, and cure wounds. Nothing that's actually going to require a saving throw or a hit bonus.
That is definitely a way to go. Druid is great, especially Circle of the Moon, because that draconic ancestry is going to follow you through your wild shapes. Did you ever want to be a bear that breathes fire? Here's your chance.
That's pretty fun.
You're going to maintain that resistances that you already have, so that's going to also be useful as well. So it's going to make your wild shapes even stronger.
So Monk, way of the 4 elements, you're already tapping into that elemental nature. And since the Dragonborn already have that kind of feel to them, it's going to seem like just an extension of, that way that you're doing. So it would really fit out. Especially
if all of your way of the 4 elements spells that you take are along the same theme. If you happen to have a fire breath weapon and draconic ancestry, if all your picks are based around fire, or works for any of the elements that way, but you can kind of still stick with that given theme.
You could also do, way of 4 elements. You could pick 3 different elements that are opposite to what you have the ability to have a breath weapon as, thus giving you 4 elements.
That would work as well. And then finally, we have the wizard.
Again, going in with that elemental nature, if you take spells that are in that, fire, lightning, acid, your breath weapon is just going to seem like another extension of those spell castings. So, save those spell slots and use a breath weapon instead.
Most importantly, though, you will be able to call yourself a lizard wizard.
That would definitely work.
So the question is, in your games, what character classes are you picking for the Dragonborn? We have a place where you can discuss it down in the comments, of course. But at this time, I'd like to take a moment to invite you to join Nerdarchy, the adventuring party, over on Patreon. Ted, what can they expect over there?
So we're creating products for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons that players and DMs alike can be able to drop right into their D&D game.
But that's not all. We do monthly giveaways, and our patrons get entered automatically.
We're also doing weekly hangouts and more.
So quest on down to the description. You can find a link to Campfire Technologies. Also, a link to that Patreon. And until next time,
Stay nerdy.